good afternoon. You're watching Mirror Now. I'm Gauri Singh. First up, let's get you all the big updates on the Pegasus stock. Right at the onset of the budget session, several opposition parties have come together and renewed their attack on the government over the controversial Israeli spyware Pegasus. TMC, Congress and CPI have moved a privilege motion against IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw. The opposition has accused him of deliberately lying to the Parliament, nation and the Supreme Court by denying involvement in the snooping row. This latest attack comes in the backdrop of a New York Times report citing a deal between India and Israel to buy the spyware in 2017.
हमने ये पहले से कहते आए और सदन इसीलिए तो मानसून सेशन लास्ट टाइम हमारा नहीं चल सका। उस वक्त कई लोगों ने हमारे ऊपर टिप्पणी की कि ये ऐसा अपोजिशन पार्टी वाले संसद नहीं चलाने दे रहे हैं और ये रूलिंग पार्टी का ही था। लेकिन सच्चाई तो ये बाहर निकली है कि न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स ने भी ये बोला है कि जो पेगासस एनएसयू के तरह इन्होंने परचेस करके उसका उपयोग किया पॉलिटिशियंस के ऊपर, जुडिशरी के ऊपर, आर्मी के ऊपर, पत्रकारों के ऊपर, वो खुलासा हो गया। तो ये इश्यू भी हम उठाएंगे और इसको किस ढंग से ले जाना, इसके लिए एक सहमति भी बनना चाहिए अपोजिशन पार्टी में।
बात ऐसी है कि सरकार ने उस वक्त तो माना ही नहीं कि हमने खरीदा है करके। आज सरकार ने वहां से न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स से खबर आई कि खरीदा गया और कितने पैसे में खरीदा गया, इसका इस्तेमाल कहाँ हो रहा है, कुछ लोगों के नाम भी आए कि किसके किसके बारे में इनकी चल रही है। तब उस वक्त भी वही कहा जाता जॉइंट पार्लियामेंट्री कमेटी की वो नियुक्ति करो, उसके तहत इसकी जांच करो। नहीं कर दिया, अब दोबारा आ गया। ये जनतंत्र कहाँ है? आप अपने ही लोगों पे स्पाइंग करोगे। हाँ भाई, कोई आतंकवादी उसकी बात अलग है, वो तो पुलिस के अभी भी कानून है, वो कानून से कर सकते हो आप। लेकिन ये जो तरीका है ना, ये अब उनके खुद के लोगों को के ऊपर भी उनकी जांच रहती है, निगरानी रहती है। ये इतना गंदा तरीका अपनाया, इतना झूठ बोलते रहे, नहीं लिया नहीं लिया। अब क्या होगा? अब आएगा पेगासस का मुद्दा पार्लियामेंट में दोबारा।
सीधी सी बात है, पेगासस पे जो रिविलेशंस हुए हैं ना, वो चिंता का विषय है। ये सामूहिक चिंता का विषय है, ये संसद के लिए चिंता का विषय है, ये आम नागरिक के लिए चिंता का विषय है। और इस तरह के चिंता के विषय पर तो राजनीति कतई नहीं होनी चाहिए। सरकार को सहज स्वीकार करना चाहिए कि हाँ, शायद हम सारे फैक्ट्स देने में नाकामयाब रहे।
Meanwhile, the BJP says that this is an attempt by the opposition to wash out the budget session.
पिछले जो सप्ताह हम लोग का हुआ था, पूरा कांग्रेस ने पेगासस करके कोई डिबेट का पार्ट नहीं बना। तो कांग्रेस एक पागल हो गया, पेगासस लेके फिर ये सत्ता भी डिस्टर्ब करने के लिए कोशिश करेगा।
Let me go across to our correspondent Ranjita Jha for more details on this. Ranjita, अभी हमने सुना किस तरीके से विपक्षी पार्टियां, चाहे वो कांग्रेस हो, शिव सेना हो, आरजेडी हो, सीपीआई हो, टीएमसी भी, सभी एक सुर में एक साथ आकर पेगासस के मुद्दे को पूरी तरीके से बड़ा करने में जुट गई हैं और पूरी तरीके से उन लोगों ने कमर कस ली है। मगर ऐसा ही कुछ तो पिछले सत्र में भी देखने को मिला था। विपक्ष ने काफी हंगामा किया था, मगर सरकार की तरफ से वो जवाब तो नहीं निकाल पाए थे। तो आखिर इस बार ऐसा क्या नया हो पाएगा?
देखिए, विपक्षी पार्टियां, जो नई रिपोर्ट जो आई है, न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स की जो रिपोर्ट है, जिसमें हवाला दिया गया है कि किस तरह से 2017 में ये सौदा हुआ था, पेगासस जासूसी के लिए सॉफ्टवेयर सरकार ने खरीदे थे। ये तमाम चीजें अब नई जो तथ्य है वो सामने आ रहे हैं। और जाहिर सी बात है, जिस तरह से मानसून सत्र था, मानसून सत्र पूरा का पूरा सत्र इसी बात पर विपक्षी पार्टियों ने हंगामा किया था कि इस पूरे मामले को लेकर संसद में सरकार अपनी बात रखे, जिस पर आईटी मंत्री ने अपनी बात भी रखी थी। ये भी कहा था, जानकारियां भी दी थी, सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक मामला गया था और सुप्रीम कोर्ट में सरकार ने एक हलफनामा भी दिया था। लेकिन इन तमाम चीजों को अब कांग्रेस और विपक्षी पार्टियां झूठा करार दे रही है। उनका कहना है कि न सिर्फ संसद बल्कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट में भी सरकार ने झूठ कहा है और इन चीजों पर सरकार को बोलना पड़ेगा। खासकर पेगासस को लेकर राहुल गांधी से भी आज संसद में सवाल किया गया। जब राष्ट्रपति के अभिभाषण के बाद वो संसद से निकल रहे थे तो उन्होंने कहा कि अभी फिलहाल नहीं बोलना चाहता, लेकिन इस मुद्दे पर बोलूंगा जरूर। तो कहीं ना कहीं कांग्रेस और विपक्षी पार्टियों ने एक बड़ी रणनीति पेगासस को लेकर बनाई है और उनको लगता है कि ये 5 राज्यों के विधानसभा चुनाव के वक्त जो नए तथ्य सामने आए हैं, इससे सरकार को घेरा जा सकता है और चुनावी तौर पर भी विपक्षी पार्टी को इससे फायदा होगा। यही कारण है कि संसद में मोशन लाया गया है आईटी मंत्री के द्वारा, बल्कि विपक्षी पार्टियां एक ज्वाइंट रणनीति भी इसको लेकर बना रही है।
जी रंजीता, शुक्रिया इस पूरी जानकारी के लिए। लेट मी गो अक्रॉस टू Arvind Sawant now, Shiv Sena MP, joining us on the phone line with his perspective and of course opposition's take on this big story. Thank you, Mr. Sawant, for speaking to us and taking the time out. Of course, first of all, as an opposition party, my first question to you is how confident are you that the government will be compelled this time around to answer questions which are related to Pegasus?
See, the fact is that in the past parliament session, the question was raised by the opposition, stating that whether you have purchased the Pegasus or not, asking the question to the government. Government did not reply on it. Now it has been revealed that the government has purchased it. And secondly, the use of the Pegasus is a constitutional violence of the secrecy and privacy of an individual. Unless you are confirmed that the person to whom you are going to keep under observation, or his telephones, or his whatever it may be, data, whatever it may be, is an extremist, is a gangster, is a threat to the country. But the use of the Pegasus is being done by the government to harass the opposition. And that is what and secondly, they had a right, as I said it just now, it is a constitutional violation given by the violation of a right given by the Constitution to us to have a secrecy, to have a privacy of an individual. And therefore, that time also it was demanded that let us form a joint parliamentary committee. But then the government did not accede to it, did not accept it. Again, the issue is raised now. New York Times is giving the news. It's really, really a shame for the country itself.
But also, Mr. Sawant, another important point is that a Supreme Court appointed panel is looking into this entire matter. Then why this restlessness on the part of the opposition? Why can't the opposition parties just wait for findings?
It's not a restlessness, please. It's not a restlessness. Even if the committee is appointed, what the committee is doing? What the committee is doing? It is being revealed by somebody in US. And the news is already appeared in New York Times. It's again, I will say, it reflects on the efficiency of the committee also.
Then, Mr.
And
Sawant,
integrity too, I'm telling you. Not only efficiency, it's the integrity too. Integrity of the committee also.
then what exactly is the demand? Because if the government comes forward and make any kind of important disclosure regarding this entire case, and even if goes one step ahead and orders a probe, then also the opposition parties are going to object and will just question
why not joint parliamentary committee then? Probe is done by whom? That also is the issue. Now everyone knows in the country, all these agencies, right from CBI to even the Supreme Court has once criticized about CPIC, parrot in a cage of a government. There lies the issue. Who is doing the probe? The integrity of the committee who is conducting the probe itself is again at stake now.
So who should probe this entire matter, Arvind Sawant, as per you?
Joint parliamentary committee is the most efficient committee because all political parties will be there.
Okay, right. Thank you, Arvind Sawant.
Their investigation will be apolitical. Where BJP's representatives also will be there. They too can oppose. Suppose I say something, That can be countered by the BJP's representative over there in the committee. And eventually, committee chairman will give a report to the Honorable Speaker of the House. That will have more authentication than any other thing.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Sawant, for making your point. And of course, just explaining the stand of Shiv Sena in this entire matter. Let me go across to Majeed Memon now, NCP leader, also with us on the phone line. Thank you, Mr. Memon, for taking the time out. First of all, as we were speaking to Mr. Sawant also, government in the last session had put a very, very stern stand when it came to the entire issue of Pegasus. They just refused to answer any question related to purchase or use of the spyware. And that was the stand that was adopted by the government, not just in the House, but also in court. So what the opposition parties are planning to do this time around to exercise enough pressure to compel the government to answer the questions that the opposition parties want?
You see, the opposition is probably making out a strategy to hit back to the government and expose its lies, if there are any, and by moving a privilege motion against the IT minister, the member of one of the opposition political parties would move in the Rajya Sabha. That is what we are hearing, to make the government answer in relation to what New York Times has stated. Because what New York Times has claimed that in 2017, India had a deal with Israel on Pegasus, whilst this fact has not been spoken by the government, either in the House or before the court or even elsewhere in public. And therefore, could it be considered that the government has lied or the government has misled the people of this country? The government has betrayed the nation. Now, these are all questions that are likely to be cropping from the opposition, to which the IT minister or the government of India will have to satisfactorily reply. Because what we find in the last 48 hours since the appearance of the report in New York Times, that BJP, some leaders have, of course, chosen to remain silent. The prominent and the Prime Minister level or Home Minister level or some such important people have chosen to remain silent. But some BJP leaders who spoke, they say that New York Times is probably anti-Modi or New York Times is supporting the opposition line. Well, which is something very strange. You see, New York Times has its own credibility, and New York Times cannot be become like a Godi media here. And therefore, when it has said, it must have said with some sense of responsibility. And therefore, the people's representative on the floor of the House would be fully entitled to ask the government to reconcile and to just your previous stand and what is your today's stand. The people of this country are entitled to know through the House. And I think that is precisely what is going to happen from tomorrow.
Right. Mr. Memon, one specific point I wanted your opinion on, because I spoke about that particular point to a Congress leader also. When opposition parties are saying that the government has lied to the nation, has lied to the parliament and also to the court, what is the basis of that particular claim? Because as far as records go, government has never said anything on the issue of purchase or use of spyware. Then what is the lie here?
No, see, when the Pegasus was being discussed either on the floor of the House or in the courtroom or even elsewhere through the IT ministry or wherever there is such access to the people, wherever, this issue was discussed, the government never said that, yes, in 2017 we had a deal with Pegasus. Now, whether that deal was fair, whether that deal has some considerations which are not justified, whether that deal was justifiably kept under wrap under the guise of national security. These are all issues that the government will have to explain now. And therefore, now once an important new aspect of the whole operation, whole query, comes to light, that in 2017, the government of India did strike a deal with Israel government. Now, this certainly is a very vital information. Why was this kept away? And if you have kept it away, and you can explain some security reasons or something like, that it is something classified, or then that's a different story. But you won't be able to do that. Therefore, the government, in our humble view, the government is in the dock today.
Right, Majeed Memon, thank you so much for speaking to us. So there are several questions which opposition is raising at this point in time, and it will be very interesting to see if the government will actually accede to the demand of the opposition and make any kind of disclosure or share any kind of information on use or purchase of spyware.